Kate, a young American history teacher, led a measured life in a Canadian town where everything was predictable and understandable. Her world revolved around her fiancé Charlie, a handsome and reliable doctor to whom she was engaged. Charlie, energetic and eager for adventure, had invited Kate to go with him to Paris for a medical conference. But to Kate, Paris was a place full of frightening mysteries. Her imagination drew pictures of noisy streets littered with mopeds, wily Frenchmen with baguettes, and, worst of all, endless cheese tastings, which she couldn't stand. Plus, Kate had a panicky fear of flying, which made Charlie's proposal a real challenge for her. She refused to go, trying to explain her fears to Charlie, but he, fascinated by the upcoming trip, didn't understand her fears. Kate, not wanting to disappoint Charlie, promised him that someday, perhaps, she would go to Paris with him. In the morning, when Charlie was going to the airport, Kate saw him off with a light heart, hoping that he would return in a couple of days, but fate had it differently. Shortly after Charlie's departure, Kate learns from him that he is not just away at a conference, but has become infatuated with another woman, a French beauty named Juliette. Kate was stunned and crushed. Charlie, her loyal and dependable Charlie, had left her for some foreigner. She felt like her whole world was crumbling. It wasn't just a betrayal, it was the end of her measured and peaceful life. Overwhelmed by grief, Kate suddenly realized that she couldn't just let it go. She realized that she had to act to get Charlie back. In spite of her fear, she decides to fly to Paris to get her fiancé back. At the airport before boarding the plane, Kate was on the verge of a nervous breakdown. She was experiencing real panic, but at the same time, she was determined. On board the plane, she accidentally meets a charming but brash and insolent Frenchman named Luc, who, as she soon learns, is a thief. He was a member of the Parisian underworld smuggling stolen goods. From the first minutes, he began to irritate and delight her at the same time. They sat side by side, and Kate couldn't help but notice his sophisticated but slightly repulsive charm. Upon arriving in Paris, Kate finds herself at the center of her fears. Everything she was so afraid of has become a reality: the noise, the hustle and bustle, the mopeds on the streets, the unfamiliar language. Luc, not knowing the city, asks Kate to help him navigate, and despite her initial dislike, she agrees. Their journey through Paris turns into a series of comical situations, and Kate herself begins to realize that her stereotypical view of the French was far from reality. Luc, taking advantage of Kate's naivety, stealthily hides a bunch of grapes and a stolen diamond necklace in her bag, hoping to retrieve it later. He leads her through the streets of Paris, pretending to be a tour guide, but also looking for an opportune moment to retrieve the necklace. He takes her to a cafe where they sample authentic French wine and pastries. Kate discovers a whole new flavor. She begins to let go of her preconceptions. Soon Luc introduces Kate to his family. They turn out to be simple and warm-hearted people who gladly accept her into their company. Luc's family lives in a small house outside the city, and Kate, seeing their simplicity and sincerity, begins to look at France in a different way. She feels the warmth and care she has been searching for so long. Meanwhile, Kate doesn't forget her goal of finding Charlie. She searches for him at the conference and walks the streets of Paris, but her search is futile. Every time she approaches his footsteps, he slips away, as if playing cat and mouse with her. Luc, though he doesn't share her goal, begins to sympathize with her worries. He sees her genuine feelings for Charlie and can't stay away. He helps her in her search, even though he realizes that Charlie is probably not worth her efforts. In the process of finding Charlie, Kate and Luc spend a lot of time together. They walk along the Seine embankment, visit museums and exhibitions, and Kate begins to realize that Luc is more than just a slick crook. He turns out to be smart, witty, and very sensitive. She sees how he treats his family, how he knows how to enjoy life, and her heart begins to thaw out. Kate is surprised to realize that her feelings for Luc are becoming stronger than she ever imagined. She begins to forget about Charlie and why she came to Paris in the first place. Her thoughts and feelings are more and more connected to Luc, to his charm, his audacity, and his ability to see the world differently. At the same time, the police begin their pursuit of Luc. They get on the trail of a stolen necklace, and Kate gets caught up in the story. She realizes that Luc is not who he says he is, but her feelings for him are so strong that she is ready to protect him. Eventually, Kate discovers that Charlie has been hiding from her all this time, having gone with Juliette to her country house. She finds them and realizes that she doesn't need Charlie all that much. Juliette turns out to be shallow and capricious, and Charlie is not as reliable as she thought. Realizing this, she decides to let Charlie go. No matter how hard it is for her, she goes back to Luke to help him escape from the police. But Luke, seeing that she's in danger, decides to turn himself in to the authorities. He doesn't want Kate to be hurt by his actions. He sincerely confesses his feelings to her, and Kate realizes that the feeling is mutual. She realizes that she has found her true love not in the measured life in Canada, but in the chaos and romance of Paris. Luke is sent to prison. But Kate doesn't give up. She knows she loves him, and she's willing to wait for him, no matter how long it takes. She feels that she has become a different person, more confident, more courageous, and more open to everything new. She is no longer afraid of cheese, no longer afraid to fly, and no longer afraid to love. She has found her true love where she least expected it, and she is ready to fight for it. Kate decides to stay in Paris to wait for Luke and start a new chapter of her life. She is sure that their love will overcome all obstacles and they will be together.